Welcome to Rockstar Doctor Life. I'm Alyssa Longo, and each episode, my guests and I will bring you fresh, fun ways to rock your life as a health professional and create a business that aligns with who you are and the life you want to live. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the show. I am thrilled as always about to begin a conversation with another rock star doctor. Dr. Amelia Rodrock is here today. Did I get your name right this time?
Yes, you did.
Okay, great.
You did.
Welcome to the show. I'm really excited to hear about your journey within chiropractic, but also I really want the listeners to hear some of the cool things that you're working on outside of your practice, because I have to be honest, you're taking health and healing and empowering women, particularly in a way that I never really knew existed. And I feel really naive saying that, but I'm really excited to learn more about it and to hear the why behind it and your story and what women can expect from you. So before we jump into that, give us a little bit about your story. Who is Dr. Amelia and what are you up to these days?
Well, it's so hard to talk about yourself sometimes. But I'm a chiropractor. I've been a chiropractor for 6 years, almost 6 years. I graduated 6 years ago. I started my practice about 5.5 years ago. Chiropractic is kind of a second career in my life. I was a massage therapist for about 10 years before going to chiropractic school. I had my children very young. I had my son when I was 19 and my daughter when I was 21. So after I had my son, I wanted something that I could do that would bring me joy and bring me fulfillment. I stayed home with him for a while, but I wanted something that I could do that wasn't like waitressing. I didn't have a college degree. So I went to massage school. My mom suggested massage school. I thought it sounded like a great idea. So I did it and I loved it for years, but massage is hard. It's hard work. And there's a lot of physical demand on your body, just like chiropractic, but it's different. So I didn't really know what I wanted to do or where I wanted to go. And I was giving somebody a massage once. It was actually an ex-boyfriend. I say this is the only thing he ever did for me. He suggested I go to chiropractic school. I was a single mom at this point with 2 children who were pretty young, and it was hard to make ends meet. I was on welfare. I had food stamps. I had housing help, medical help. So all the welfare things I was on, because being a massage therapist and raising 2 children it's a lot of money, and I couldn't afford it. So he suggested chiropractic, and at first I was like, whoa, nuh-uh, that I am not good enough for that. I am not smart enough for that. But it piqued my interest, and I started doing some research, and I had done a lot of just random schooling at different colleges in the area, but nothing that actually fit together to make any sort of degree. So I researched chiropractic school. Luckily I'm in Lawrence, Kansas, and luckily there's a chiropractic school in Kansas City. So about 35-minute drive from Lawrence. And I went and toured it, and I applied to do some prerequisites. I had a year of prerequisites, all the sciences. I never did any sciences. So I got in to do my prerequisites, finished that, and then started chiropractic school. And it was graduating from chiropractic school was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Going through school was very difficult, being a single mother with 2 children, just not being able to be there for them like I wanted to. Our breaks never lined up because our school is a year-round school. We have trimesters, so I'd have 2 weeks off in between trimesters, and they were never over a break that they had. Rarely did we have spring break the same. So it was just really hard. Those 5 years, it ended up being 5 years with my year prerequisites, was really, really difficult. But I got through it miraculously. I got through it. And I met my husband while I was in chiropractic school, and he was not a student at the time. He had actually graduated years earlier. I think he graduated in 2000, and I graduated in 2013. But he was a single father, and we had kids at the same elementary school. And I had on, in between classes, was their field day. So a day of just playing outside and doing fun things, and parents can always come. And I had on a chiropractic t-shirt, and I went to field day because in between trimesters, and he was there, and he saw my chiropractic shirt. He came up to talk to me, and I think I gave him a "who the hell are you" look, but I talked to him, and we talked that whole day at field day, and then I went to shadow him, and then I asked him out for coffee, and now we're married. So that was kind of serendipitous and fun. After I graduated chiropractic school, I opened my own practice. He has a practice in a small town outside of where I practice, and it's always been his practice. And I knew I couldn't step into his practice and make it my practice. So we decided I was going to open a practice in Lawrence, and he was going to stay in Baldwin City, and we would have 2 separate practices. And it has worked out beautifully. I really love my practice. I love my space. I love being here. We see a lot of families, so lots of kids, lots of pregnant women. I kind of have a multidisciplinary practice. So I have a midwife who has an office in here. I have 2 massage therapists. I have an esthetician. Doulas meet here. Somebody does yoga here because we have a big open area. So we have a lot of fun in the office, and I love it. I have an associate who's amazing and 2 fantastic CAs. So I really love what I do, and I'm so happy that ex-boyfriend, who is long out of my life, thank God, recommended I go to chiropractic school.
You know what? That is something that we share in common. It was an ex-boyfriend of mine when I was in university that suggested chiropractic school. And also, interestingly enough, I had the same headspace. I was like, well, I don't know enough. I didn't take any of the basic sciences. I didn't take any of, even in university, I was kinesiology. I love movement. I love training. I love physical sports, but I never thought that I had what it took. Even in high school, I didn't take any of the hard science courses. And so I give him some credit for, planting the seed in my head to think, oh, what is chiropractic? And then, I had an injury, and then I saw my chiropractor, and then within minutes of meeting her, I knew I was going to apply. And so kind of a serendipitous, cool story there too. And so, through chiropractic, you met your husband, and you've had some really, you've gone from being the single mom, right, struggling to get through, to running what it sounds like a badass business.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah. So congrats for you for that. I'm sure that story alone is going to inspire a lot of people. What were some of the things that really helped you stay focused and motivated while you were in chiropractic school? Because, you already said, your children were young, you had to miss things. I'm sure like most parents, you dealt with I want to be the best parent, and I want to be the best, grow myself and my business too. And that can be a really difficult place, and you have to give up things in each of those aspects sometimes. So what helped you in those tough moments when you were grueling your way through chiropractic school?
My family, having family around really helped, because I knew they could pick up where maybe I couldn't. And just, when I was in chiropractic school, I decided I didn't have to be an A student. I wasn't going to sacrifice all of my time at home with my kids so I could get A's. So I studied and I passed, but I wasn't the top student, and I was okay with that. I did not care at all. It was more important for me to be able to be there for my kids and do things with my kids in the evenings and on weekends than to spend 100% of my time studying. Because I know my husband, when he was in school, he was like 22 and had absolutely no responsibilities. So he partied and he studied, and that's all he did. Well, I raised my children, and then I studied some on the sides. I had a commute, so I would voice record myself reading chapters of things and just listen to it on my commute. So it helped me just plant the information into my head, and I didn't actually have to read the books. But, I had an hour and 20 minutes or so every day, so I might as well get the most out of it and try to study. But I probably did, miss a lot of studying and a lot of that stuff because I wanted to be with my kids.
I always think about it, sometimes we think about what are we going to give up? And I think, well, what are you gaining though? Right. So try to flip the conversation around. So maybe you're giving up, this experience, but you're gaining more time with your children, so it's a good perspective for us to remember. I love that creative way that you were able to learn while you were commuting, right? Because that's what we have to adapt. Just like the human body is always adapting. We have to adapt our lives at times to meet the goals that we have in all the different areas of our life. I love the fact that you and your husband don't practice together. I've had a number of couples on the show, and I know that I've had docs on the show who do practice with their partner. And I have docs also that choose not to. So can you just share a little bit more about how that's been a positive thing for you and your husband? Because I know there's listeners out there that are considering working together, or maybe they'll think they want to work together and they're not really sure whether that's the right, direction for them to go either.
I feel like if I would have graduated with him and we would have built a practice together, maybe it would have been different. I don't know. I'm pretty competitive, and being with him and being competitive, I don't know if that ever would have worked out, but I feel like maybe it would have. But since he had the practice for so long, by the time I graduated, about 12 years or so, you know, like I said, it was never going to be my practice. I would always feel like I was answering to him or having to do what he wanted to do or his vision for his practice. So it just always worked out better to have my own practice. And when I started chiropractic school, he wasn't in the picture. He didn't, you know, help me get into school, or he didn't, you know, help me with any of that. It was always my dream. And I like to tell people that, not that I know it doesn't matter, but, you know, a lot of people assume I started school because of him. And there's probably some people out there who started school because of their spouse, and there's nothing wrong with that. But that wasn't me. I started because of me. And that's really important for me, because I have really transformed my life, you know, with help from him and, you know, other friends and whatever, but I really transformed my life myself. And so I like people to know that it was me from the start. I wanted to go to chiropractic school. And so I wanted to start my own practice. And it's just what's worked for our family. I mean, we took on a lot more debt by starting my practice. It would have been so much cheaper just to step into his, because we both have associates now. So there's room for me there, but never wanted to do it.
No, I think it's healthy that you considered who you were and what you needed for yourself, right? And I think sometimes it's what all of us forget at different parts of our life story. You forget that what you want really matters, and it's not just what everyone else thinks is best for you, because sometimes we make the decision of doing what's best for everyone else and forgetting that little piece, that really big piece, which is what we want and who we are and what we need for our personal success. Do you think your definition of success has changed as you've gone through, you know, the business of being a massage therapist and now a chiropractor, and now your children are growing and you're starting a new business? Like, how do you define success for yourself now?
My definition of success has definitely changed. And I'm just reminded of when I drive through my town here. I remember when I was younger driving through, I lived in subsidized housing, but there was this new-ish development going up, and they were very cookie cutter houses, all the same. But I would drive by it and be like, oh, someday I'm going to live in one of those houses, and, you know, I'm going to have a yard and it's going to be awesome. And now I drive by and I'm like, oh God, I would never want to live in one of those houses, because what I have now is just, it's so much better. I mean, I live in the country on 30 acres. I have animals and, you know, have a lot of fun out where I am now. So it's just, you know, interesting to see how I've transitioned just on things that I want, you know, which define success to me, and things that, you know, I used to want that I would never even want now. When I was a young single mom, I just wanted to be able to buy groceries without help. That was going to make me feel successful, and be able to send my kids to camp. That would make me feel successful. And now, you know, I can do all of that and so much more. I'm able to give back to my community and do a lot of things that I never really thought I was going to be able to do.
So success has evolved as you've evolved, basically, in what you define as yourself. And speaking of, you know, success, you're having some success with something that you're working on outside of your practice. And I'd love for you to tell listeners what BodyWise is all about. Because truthfully, that's how you and I got connected, is through Dr. Ed Osmond's Inner Circle, you know, where I'm one of the coaches there, and I've watched your progression and I'm on the inside scoop of seeing some of your ideas, but you know, I know you just have launched recently. So let's tell everyone what you've got going on. So
I'll start back, kind of how I evolved to where I am now with that. So in 2011, I believe, I decided to get breast implants. So I was still in chiropractic school, but I had never really been happy with my breasts. I nursed both of my kids for a year and a half. They just, you know, if you're ladies out there and you've nursed kids, you know what happens.
They change.
They
we all get it.
They change. It changes. And I wanted to change that. I wasn't happy with it. You know, at this point, I was a single mom. I was dating my now husband. But I just wanted to feel better about myself. I was always insecure about myself, always insecure about my body. I was just kind of a lot of insecurities and a lot of things going on inside of me. And I thought getting breast implants would help. My husband and I didn't question the fact of breast implants. You know, the FDA says it's safe, and it must be, even though we don't think that at all. So I don't even know why we thought that then. So I got breast implants. Fast forward, you know, a few years, I started, aging is what I'll call it. I felt like I was just aging. You know, I had chronic fatigue. I was a little achy. I had about 20 pounds of weight gain that I couldn't get off. And I'd been a fitness competitor, and I've done triathlons and swam a lot. Like I've been in shape. I know what it's like to be in shape. And I knew that I was doing all the right things, but something was not right in my body. and I had a colleague who was getting her breast implants taken out. And I was like, oh, what's going on? So she told me about breast implant illness. Mm-hmm. So I did a lot of research with breast implant illness, and I decided my symptoms of aging were probably that, or could be that. And even if it wasn't that, I learned a lot about breast implants and how terrible they are for our bodies, how they're full of toxins and heavy metals and carcinogens that leach out of their shells. Silicone and saline both do this. They're both not safe. But they'll leach out into your body and can cause a whole array of symptoms that I had no idea was a thing. So after a lot of research and a lot of just looking, like connecting with other women who have breast implant illness, I decided I need to get mine out. My husband likes to point out that he's been telling me for about 3 years to get them out, but I wasn't listening to him at all. I had to come to
sometimes we have to make our own decisions, right? I feel like that's the way with some of the dudes too. They need to make their own choice. You can tell them as many times as you want.
That is correct. That is correct. So he had been telling me for a while because he'd noticed the changes in me, and he had done some research on breast implants, and he knew how terrible they were for our bodies. So I decided to go get them out. I flew to Florida to a specialist and got them removed. And honestly, they look better now than they did with implants. I'm super happy that I got them taken out. But more importantly, my health has started to turn around. I don't have aches and pains. I don't have fatigue. I was starting to have Raynaud's syndrome in my hands. I don't have that anymore. I had chronic ringing in my ears. I don't have that anymore. So a lot of these symptoms that I was having, I don't have anymore. And so what I am trying to do is work with women to help them detox after breast implants. Because breast implants, like I said, they leach a ton of toxins and heavy metals into your body. And even after you get them out, you can remain sick if you don't flush everything out of your body. So I have a detox protocol that goes through 5 systems of the body, and it helps really thoroughly detox your body so you can heal optimally. So that's really what I want to do, is help women heal optimally. And I have an ebook that's out, a podcast that's starting, websites, all the things to really help. Facebook page, a private Facebook page. So I really want to help women and really feel passionate about it. One, because I've been there. I've been through it. I know how crappy I felt, and I'm not even a bad. So my symptoms were really mild compared to a lot of women. Some women are bedridden. Some women are so sick, they can't function. They can't be parents. They can't do anything. An explant can be expensive. So getting the money together is something that's very difficult for some people. So that's my mission. And hopefully to help maybe young women feel better about themselves, because breast implants are a Band-Aid. They really are. I mean, I liked them for a while, but then I still had all the crap going on inside my body, all the feelings, everything that I had to deal with and I had to heal from and transform to be able to truly transform who I was.
So your programs start with the why, like what it is. So for a woman who's listening right now or who knows someone, would they want to connect with you if they were considering doing breast implants, or if they're considering removing them, or what stage of their journey would it be best for them to connect with you? Or is it all of it?
All of it, any stage. I mean, the ebook is right now, I have one ebook. I plan to have more, but it's specifically for detoxing afterwards.
Okay.
But I want to start having some more stuff for women beforehand, how to get your body as healthy as possible before, because I did a lot of things before my surgery, because surgery is hard on your body. So I did a ton of gut stuff, a ton of immune stuff, just a lot of stuff with my mind and my body to make sure I was in an optimal place for surgery. So I plan to write an ebook about that as well here in the future. But there's a lot of Facebook groups as well, not just mine, but there's a lot of groups out there that help inform women and show the research and show what's going on with breast implants.
Yeah, it's something to consider, right? Like not only so many of us, I mean, we want to look good, right? And most people are willing to go to certain lengths to improve their appearance, but sometimes we have to stop and think about what are the effects of that, right? And how does that affect our health? And as health professionals, I think we're always on the inside scope, have the inside scoop about what the potential hazards could be. But I think, you giving people the tools to start considering it is also really aligned with who you are as a health professional.
Yes, it is. Yep.
So you've got that you're working on. You've got not only 2 children, you have 2 stepchildren now as well. You have your practice. What's your tip for getting everything done? Like, do you have ways that you structure your week? Do you have ways that you focus your time? Have you, worked on your online business when you've done like more of a sabbatical, or what productivity tips can you share with everyone if you have any today?
Put everything in your calendar, schedule time. This is the hardest thing for me to know when to do things, because sometimes I feel really overwhelmed by how much I feel like I have to do or need to do, not even have to do, but I need to do. And just putting it in my calendar really helps me organize myself. So I try to block out chunks of time for my online business, because I try not to work on anything during patient hours. I want that to be specifically for patients. It doesn't always work out that way. I do sometimes work on stuff during patient hours. I take Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off. So sometimes my husband and I will spend Friday doing some work on my online business and kind of laying things out. So just write it all down. That's really my best productivity. If you don't write it down, you're not going to do it. Don't not have a plan. Have some sort of structure and some sort of plan, which has been the hardest thing for me because I'm not a very structured person. I kind of have a hard time being super structured. So I'm getting better
on that one though too. Yeah. I'm a list maker. Yeah.
Yes, I have to make a list. I have to do that. But the more, one-on-one detox clients I take on, and the more, stuff I try to do, the more I realize how much I have to structure my time so I can still spend time with my family and have time in my office and be able to work on my online business and be there for clients who are doing one-on-one detoxing. So it's not always easy, but it's working right now.
No, but I can see because I'm getting to look at you right now, and listeners, you may be just listening to us. You can watch the video or you can listen to us, but I can see the joy in your face, right? I can see you light up when you talk about the work that you're doing. So I'm always saying, how can you do more of what you love? And when you do what you love, it doesn't really ever seem like work. So it just will fuel you like more than any shot of caffeine ever will. So you talked about time with your kids and online business. How do you shift gears from mom mode to work mode? Like, do you have anything that helps you be present and focused with your kids and not be thinking about entrepreneurial business pursuits? Because I don't know about you, but it's a tough thing for me at times to really, my kids are getting older. So they're actually okay with me working sometimes because they don't want to spend as much time with me.
Yeah.
But when they were younger, it was tricky because I always had ideas popping in my head, and there was always something you could be doing for your business. So what helps you stay focused and present in your different roles that you play?
Putting my phone down when I'm with my kids helps, because when you have an online business and you do things, like that, your phone is everything. You can do anything you need to do on your phone. So, and I'm not always good about putting my phone down. And my kids are older too. And my son is 20. He's moved out. My daughter graduates high school in a couple of weeks. My stepdaughter, who's the youngest one, is almost 17. She'll be a senior next year. So they don't really care either. They don't want to spend a ton of time with us, but putting my phone down is very, very helpful. Just being present, engaging them, really just talking to them. Because especially since they're teenagers and they're moving on, and there's so much going on in their lives, talking to them and having a conversation with them. And my kids and I have always, my son especially, I mean, we have a very close relationship and we talk about so much. My daughter and I, we have a pretty close relationship, but she just doesn't like to talk quite as much as he does. But just, it's hard. It is very, very hard. I think it's a little easier for me maybe because my kids are older. So I don't feel quite as pulled to do a bunch of things. Like I said, I'm lucky to have an associate, so I can leave my office to go to her swim meets and go to orchestra concerts and stuff like that. So I don't have to miss those like I used to have to.
Well, and in all fairness though, you were in school when they were younger, when they were teenagers too. And so you have had to learn and sacrifice some things in both ways. I find that, and I think that as a single, because I've been a single mom for so many years now, 10 years now with my boys. And I think there's a different connection that you have with your kids when you go through a lot of life like that. Like I'm very close with my sons as well. And what I find with them as teenagers is that they don't necessarily want to do things with you, but they want you around. They still want you present to bounce ideas off of, to guide them. Yes. You're not changing diapers anymore, but you need to be actively present in your life, in their lives, to still be a positive influence, definitely. Yes. And to get the joy back in the relationships that you could have. Can we talk a little bit about any success tips you might have for a blended family? Because I know that that's something that, a lot of families have situations they've been put into, and there's great success and there's also some unique challenges. Do you have anything that's really worked for you and your husband?
So what's really worked for us is I let him parent his kids and he lets me parent my kids. Our parenting styles are a little bit different, but but not, I don't feel like they're different, like at the core, like at the core of our values and how we parent, it's the same. But we do have some different things that we do, or things that we say, or how we react. And it's hard. It's hard sometimes. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Why are you doing this? No, but you know, it's his thing. He's got to parent his daughters. And likewise, he's let me parent my kids. And if we have anything that we disagree on with the kids, we talk about it to each other without the kids present. And I might just tell him, hey, I don't feel like what they're wearing is appropriate. Or he might say, hey, I don't like, you know, how she was talking to you, or whatever it is. You know, we talk about it with each other, and we leave the kids out of it, because ultimately they are my kids and his kids, even though we've been together now for, I don't know, long time, 10 years or so, which has been really important to us to kind of keep that separation. And we don't have any kids together, so I don't know what would happen if we had any kids together, how that parenting would be.
Yeah. But I think that's, you know, what you've just shared is honestly the advice that I was always given from other people. I'm not in a blended family, but I know how my children feel about, you know, their step parent, and how those new relationships have affected them. And I always just, someone said to me once, you know, if you can just show up as another responsible, caring adult in their life, and let the parent, you know, have that relationship. And obviously, you know, listeners, everyone's situation is different, and people have different cultural influences and different, you know, spiritual influences on how they want to parent and raise your kids. But there are certainly ways that you can have a thriving relationship as a blended family and as with stepkids, that I always like to try to bring into the show if we can, because a lot of listeners have lots of different family dynamics these days.
Yes.
So thanks for sharing that.
Yes.
Have you had any challenges within practice that come to mind? Like when you, so I don't know if when you started the BodyWise, if this has taken, you said, you know, sometimes it's hard to not focus on patient hours because you got this new exciting thing happening. Have you had any other things that have taken you off focus in your practice that you've had to recover from?
Well, getting my implants out, I was off of work for 4 weeks. It's, you know, they're under the muscle. They have to open up that pec muscle. We have to let the pocket that's in there now heal up. I couldn't use my arms really for about 4 weeks, and then coming back to my office,
which is kind of a big deal for a chiropractor.
Yeah, I have to use my arms, and I don't use the activator, so I manually adjust. So luckily, I have a great associate. But you know, when the doctor that's been the doctor for 5.5 years is gone for a month, you take a hit in practice. You know, practice dips a little bit. It didn't dip much, but it did. We're recovering from that, so that's been okay.
What do you find helps your practice grow the most these days?
Social media, really. Social media has been the number one thing that we've done that has grown our practice. I joined all the mom groups. I did, you know, all of the things on social media that seemed to pertain to what I wanted my practice to be, and just started talking, started getting out there, started getting some of the loudest moms in as patients, because then they started talking about me. So really, we've grown our practice through social media, which, I mean, when my husband started practice, it wasn't really even a thing. Like, he did nothing on social media. Now he does a little more than I even do on social media. But that's really just referrals. You know, I don't do a lot of advertising in my town. We've done a little bit here and there, but not a lot.
But even sounds like the way you're using social media is relationship engagement, right? It's not so much all these killer Facebook ads, right? And boosting posts. It's more just you connecting with and building relationships within groups and whatnot.
It's all been about building relationships. About almost a year after I started practice, I got a life coach, and he he coached females, and he's in Lawrence, Kansas. And so he would have seminars for female entrepreneurs and, you know, females in business. And so I started going to a lot of his things and a lot of his the networking things that he did, and all the women in the group. So I got to be really close with a bunch of like badass women in Lawrence. So that was really helpful too, just to kind of build my circle of women, because I really feel like being friends with women and women helping women is really important.
What keeps you so inspired?
I don't know what keeps me inspired. My kids, my family, just really the health of our nation and seeing where things are going in our country. I know you're in Canada, but it's probably not that much different than us. So just
our numbers are just smaller.
Yeah. But really seeing kids and how kids are being raised and what they're being fed and what is said to be okay in pregnancy, and what you know everybody says to avoid in pregnancy. So really seeing all the misinformation out there and wanting to leave a legacy. I want to leave a legacy for my kids to be proud of.
Awesome. Well, I certainly appreciate your time today on the show and getting to know you a little bit more. And listeners, you definitely need to check out Dr. Amelia's work. If you are ever considering getting breast implants, if you know someone who is considering them, if you are, looking at ways to improve your health and detoxify from breast implants, you definitely need to check out what she's doing. And also just check out what she's doing because she's a pretty cool person and has gone through a lot of amazing things to build a life that you want for yourself right now. So I really want to honor you and congratulate you for that. It's not easy.
Thank
I'm
you.
more inspired by docs like you who have, and there's been several on the show, people who've been single parents going through chiropractic school. I mean, I don't know how I got through chiropractic school, and I was in my 20s and I did not have children, and it was hard enough for me at that time. So anyone who did it as a parent and with other, challenges along the way, credit to you. So thank you for sharing your story with us today.
Thank you for having me.
I hope you enjoyed today's show. Find out more about today's guests and everything else that we talked about in the show notes. You can also find all this content and so much more, including videos, blog posts, and how you can work with me on the Rockstar Doctor Life website. If you haven't yet reviewed the show, we'd love it if you headed on over to iTunes, subscribe, and leave us a review about what your thoughts are about future episodes for the show and what you like best. Feel free to connect with me on Instagram at Melissa Longo DC and of course on Facebook. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time.